So today's episode was really good. I had my friend Carlos Reyes on the show, who also got his start in real estate investing, but his journey is quite a bit different than mine. He started out as an illegal immigrant from Mexico who actually came to America and had to go back to Mexico because it didn't work out the first time. It's an amazing story he shares with his mother, who brought him back over, and now he's a very successful multi-millionaire entrepreneur who's got over 30 businesses now. But even though that was fun to talk about, we actually go way more in depth about personal development and how he is going to spend $250,000 this year on his self-development. So you don't want to miss out. Make sure you stay tuned to the end. Now let's jump into the podcast. Are you looking to grow your real estate investing business? My company, Future Flipper, can help. We've taught hundreds of people all over the country how to flip, wholesale, and buy rental properties. And it doesn't matter where you're at in your investing journey. Whether you're trying to get your first deal or scale your company, Future Flipper can help. We have courses, coaching, and events for all levels of investors. So if you want to take the next step, go to futureflipper.com and book a free consultation to see how we can best help you. Once again, that's futureflipper.com. One of the hardest parts about real estate investing is finding a good contractor. That's where Southwestern Custom Construction comes in. They've been doing remodels in Nevada and Arizona since 2006. As a fully licensed and bonded general contractor, they're able to help with any type of renovation, all the way from an entry-level fixer-upper to a custom luxury home. Southwestern Custom Construction specializes in working with investors. I've personally used them on many of my projects, so I know their team is legit. If you want to get a bid on a project, head over to customhomenow.com. Once again, that's customhomenow.com. Welcome to the Ryan Pineda Show, where our mission is to invest.
I only expect to make money in things that I understand.
Innovate.
It's about believing in the future and thinking that the future will be better than the past.
And inspire. I am much more likely to hit my goal just due to putting it out there.
You're now rocking with the best.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Ryan Pineda Show. Today, I've got my good friend Carlos Reyes, who's pretty much been with me step for step along the come up. Back in 2015, we both got in the real estate game, and we're both doing drastically different things now. And we're going to be talking about how he spends $250,000 a year on personal development. But before we do that, what's up, Carlos?
Brother, thank you for having me finally.
Yeah, man. Dude, I feel weird shaking your hand left-handed, but it's all good.
Oh, it's all good. Man, this was a 1 hour flight, quick flight, slept, trying to wake up, but I think we'll be fine. Thanks for that espresso.
Yeah, man. So we were actually in Phoenix last week together at All In Freedom, man. What an event.
Here, the we're going to get into all this, but the power of visualization, right? Literally, like I set the intent 2 months ago. By the way, I don't know if you knew this. Most people, to pack an event like that, 700, 800 people, they spend a few months, like 3 months, 5 months, 6 months actually working and promoting and all that, promoting, marketing. For us, it was 2 months, literally 2 months. I think as soon as we put the dates together, I hit you up. I said, hey, bro, you want to speak, right?
Yep.
And man, this is the vision. Like, I don't know what happened, but I was like, man, I know that, no one's really doing live events right now, in-person events. But man, I want to do one so bad, right? Like, yeah, it's time. And I visualized this thing. I had this by the way, we're going to get into the manifestation and setting intentions and stuff like that, right? I had that really elevated emotion. I was like, man, I really want to do this, right? And then I set the intention. I'm like, man, what if we make this event the biggest, baddest in-person event of 2021? It's kind of like a welcome home party, opening up party, right?
Right.
And 2 months later, brother, we only spent $12,500 promoting the event on Facebook ads, 12.5, and we got between 700 and 800 people, and the energy there was absolutely insane. So yeah, I want to thank you for being a part of that, man. That's a huge milestone for us, and thank you for being a part of that.
I appreciate you inviting me. I had a blast. For those of you who were at the event, definitely comment below. Appreciate you. You allowed me to speak on social media, which was really fun, and just to see. I attended your very first event back in 2018, and to see the event today, just like how big and how crazy it's gotten. It's amazing, man.
I remember you make fun of the blow up, right? The blow up screen.
Yeah, you guys listen on the podcast. It's funny. So this event, super highly produced. They had just like this huge room at the DoubleTree. Was it the DoubleTree?
DoubleTree Resort.
Yeah, it was at the DoubleTree. And huge projector screens, like what you'd expect an event. But I went to this first event, and it was like 100 people, and very expensive event, by the way, guys. But totally worth it value-wise. But we get in there, and the projector might have been about the size of the TV behind me.
It was pretty small.
Yeah, and it looked like a life raft from Walmart. Like, it was a legit blow-up projector. I'm like,
I was very embarrassed. Let me tell you why. We were charging $5,000 a piece.
Yeah.
And we had a $200 blow-up projector. And I got so upset with our staff. I was like, hold on, this is not happening. Well, we can't find what we get. Like, I don't care where you go. Best Buy, I don't care where you go. We need a real legitimate projector.
It would have probably been better just putting the projector on the wall versus that thing.
It was so awful. And I was very embarrassed, man. And thank God that we were able to solve that issue like hours before it started.
Yeah.
So,
but no, the event was great. And like I said, to see how far it's come since then has been great. But, for those listening who don't know you, why don't you give them a quick backstory of like who you are? I talked about how you and I kind of came up together on the same time, but tell them who you are before that.
I think you and I got in the game of real estate investing together, like around the same time, right?
Right.
We had two different verticals, but we had the same goal in mind, right? Just to gain some financial freedom through the real estate industry. For me, and I'll keep this story 2 to 5 minutes. I'm not your typical, actually, I'm one of those old school dudes, right? Like where you hear about, oh man, like an old school guy, like an immigrant, like Manny Koshman coming into this country. And then, I'm probably at like 0.00002% the success rate, or this, I've had the success of Manny Koshman, like 0.0002%. That guy's a multi-billionaire, I think, at this point. But nonetheless, he was an illegal immigrant just like myself. I was an illegal immigrant. The first time that my mother brought me over here with my brother was through a sewer system in Tijuana, Mexico. It's a border between California and Mexico. It was a little small town called San Isidro, and she literally snuck us through a sewer system. And you're probably like, what do you mean a sewer system? It wasn't like a Ninja Turtle sewer system. It was like a bridge, like they do, the canal,
Okay.
It wasn't like like a tube, right?
Yeah.
And we got caught. We got caught by immigration. My mother was carrying my brother on her left arm and dragging me with her right arm as children. And,
how old were you at the time?
I was about 6 years old, actually.
So you remember?
I remember. Oh,
Yeah.
for sure. That's. And I try to forget, by the way, like growing up, I try to forget a lot of these things, just because it was, suffering and pain isn't a pretty thing for anybody. Right. But the fact of the matter is we got caught, got kicked out. She waited 48 hours. We tried it again. We made it. We went to Escondido, California, and I attended there. I didn't know any English. And I know you probably want to ask me something. Go ahead.
No.
Okay.
I'm listening.
Okay. I didn't speak any English, and I was called like the W word. You know what the W word is?
I don't.
No, I was called like a wetback.
Oh yeah.
Like in elementary, they were like, and it wasn't even white people calling me wetback. It was like my own like Latinos and Hispanics. Because
why?
Because they're called Chicanos.
Because you're like light skin?
No, because I'm a Mexican from Mexico that didn't speak English. I was like fresh off the boat type of immigrant, right? So the white folks, they didn't. My best friend, his name was Patrick McCormick. He was, and we were in the 3rd grade together, and we used to play a little basketball. He was a white dude, was my best friend. I could barely speak anything to him. I took the summer between as soon as I got there between 2nd and 3rd grade, I took the initiative. I don't know why my mother didn't, because she didn't know any better, and she still doesn't speak English to this day. I took the initiative of learning English over that summer, so I can like defend myself in the 3rd grade, right? And then, my best friend was a white guy, and then all these other Mexican guys that were born in America from immigrant parents, they really felt very entitled. They were like, yeah, we're American, you're not, whatever.
Yeah.
They didn't, they were just calling me a wetback or whatever.
Right.
It's all good. I got into a lot of fights during the 3rd grade, a lot. But that's what you do when you're in the 3rd grade. So anyway, we only lasted like a year and a half. My mom was working literally the fields. That's how she got her paperwork. She was doing she got amnesty through the president. She was working the fields, so they gave her paperwork to become a resident of the United States. Anyway, year and a half in, it's too expensive. California is outrageous. Single mom, 2 kids. We fail. We really fail. We like, brother, when I tell you we were homeless for 2 days under a tree. We were homeless for 2 days under a tree. My mother always reminds me of that for some crazy reason. She just reminded me of that last month. She's like, remember we were under that tree and we were homeless? Like, why do you want to? Like, yeah.
I don't need to know.
My grandma died when I was in the 5th grade. Mom, you want to talk about that too? Right? It's like, no.
Yeah.
Why do you remind me? So anyway, we were homeless and we're like, okay, we're done. We can't afford an apartment. Wow. I mean, brother, at some point it got to the point where my mom, she would get some money and she would be like, okay, do I pay the electricity or do I pay rent? You know what I mean?
Right.
So those are the choices that were being made around my childhood. Went back to Mexico. I started bagging groceries. I started working. At this point, I'm in the 4th grade. I start working, bagging groceries at a retail store. And I know just enough English to when the Americans came, I would I would jump in there and start talking. I'm the only guy in the store that knows English. Man, I was banking. My mom made about $30 a week cleaning rooms at the resort. It's called San Carlos Bay. I was making about $10 to $20 a day. What she was making in a week, I was making like in a day and a half, 2 days.
Were you just getting tips or what?
Brother, so what I would do is I would bag groceries, right? I would bag groceries and then, I would put like the soft bread by itself, put the eggs by itself, put the gallon double bag the milk and stuff like that. And then I had my little apron, and I had my little hat, my little thing. I would have my little cart, boom, take it out to their car in the parking lot, and I would put it all away nice and neat, and then they knew what time it was after I was done. I was like, okay, boom. I wasn't afraid to do that.
Right.
They're like, okay, $1, $2, $3.
Yeah.
So I was making pretty good money as a child in Mexico. And what we did with my money, we used my money to come up with the strategy to get my mom back to the States. Because you have to remember this, bro. You have to know this. In Mexico, where I lived, right, we had like dirt roads, dirt floors, no electricity, no plumbing, right, no water. The way that we would get water is trucks would come around with this huge container, and we'd have these big blue containers in the front. And every week we would buy water to put in those containers, and that's the water we would use to shower, to wash our clothes in the backyard on a washing board. You know what I mean? Like that's the water we would use. We had no electricity. My grandma had those old school gas lamps, glass, little fire inside of them, like propane gas lamps.
Right.
That's how that was my childhood. That's all I knew. Everybody in my neighborhood didn't even have shoes. They would play soccer without shoes. They would walk around without shoes. Sometimes I would feel so guilty that I would kind of want to become part of, that culture. As far as my neighborhood, like the poverty in my neighborhood, and I would walk around without shoes.
Even though you were making money.
Even though I was making money, I'm like, man, all my friends don't have shoes. I'm going to take my shoes off, and I wouldn't play soccer without shoes. But I would walk around the neighborhood with all my other friends without shoes. We would go to the beach. I had no shoes on, whatever, right? Anyway, my money we used to get her back to Phoenix, where I am now. And we used her money for the day-to-day food and stuff. I mean, how much can you buy with $30 a week, right? So we about a year and a half, 2 years of saving money. We get her on a bus back to Phoenix. Now the first time she left us, like it was unintentionally like abandonment, right? It was very traumatic for me as a child. I spent a lot of nights crying for my mother, you know what I mean? With her picture under my pillow and stuff like that. And that was for 2 years the first time, and then another 2 years the second time. Got her back to Phoenix. 2 years later, she's like, okay, I'm going to do this right. I'm not going to bring all my children right away. I'm going to bring my oldest child first. And then once we get situated, I'm going to bring my next child. So the second time, she brought me through a fence. She paid a coyote $25. If people don't know what a coyote is, it's a
human smuggler.
Right. So paid him $25. And at this point, I'm in the 7th grade. I said, hey, son, listen to this man. Whatever he tells you to do, make sure you do it. I'm going to be waiting for you on the other side at a McDonald's. So sure thing, man. Like as soon as he's like, hey, there's a light going on, like duck, run, jump. Like as a 7th grader,
right.
I was doing this. And we got in through a hole in the fence, met her at McDonald's, and then we almost got caught because we got into a shuttle van And the shuttle van was being stopped by immigration. And my mom's like, the driver's like, does anybody in this van not have paperwork? And my mom was like, damn, right? Like she did, but I didn't. Her son did.
Right.
He's like, hey, my son doesn't have paperwork. But I'll tell you what, if you make this work, I'll give you $500 when I get home. I only have $50 on me. That's all she had. Right. When we get home, I'll give you $500. And she's like, are you sure? The driver's like, are you sure you're going to give me $500? Yeah. So sure thing. We made it through that stop. My mom, as slick as she is, we got out the shuttle and she had him go to like a random apartment complex. And we ran. We didn't have $500 to give the man, so I feel bad about that. But we were gone, so that was the second time I came to this country, man. And I'm telling you, like it's been quite a journey. It's been quite a journey. I want to say this because I know we're going to transition into some of the personality traits and makeup, right? The makeup of what it takes to be actually successful, like a massively successful entrepreneur. I didn't know this until I became an adult. I got all my programming from my mother. And you might think, well, dude, if you got all your programming from your mother, well, how come you're a multi-millionaire? And how come you're not poor and, like she was, right? Well, because the programming that I got from my mother was through demonstration. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
She was like, here, I'll give you for me, I call it the 5 tips, right? It's a 5-tip success formula. Yeah. 5-tip success formula. And tip number 1 that I tell a lot of people out there, this is from my life experience. It could vary from different person. But number 1 was literally making a decision. And my mom made a decision to get her children out of Mexico because of the poverty and the suffering. There was no future there. Yeah. So she made a decision. That's number 1, right? Number 2 is committing to that decision. She definitely stayed committed to that decision. Number 3 was sacrifice. She made every sacrifice. She left her children. She was working the fields. She saved a bunch of money, made every sacrifice, right? Number 4 was the work ethic part. And that's one thing that she worked 2 to 3 jobs at a time. And number 5 was perseverance. I saw this woman never quit. Right. She didn't speak English. She was a single mother. Were we on food stamps at times? Yes. Were we on WIC at times? Yes. Were we on cash assistance, rent assistance at times? Yes. But she never gave up, right? So as you can see, I got all my programming from her. She never told me that I couldn't do something. Right. She is a strong woman. Yeah. So I believe that that's where I got a lot of my programming from, man.
Yeah, man. And I, speaking of her, I know you brought her on stage at All in Freedom, and I could tell she's obviously a strong woman. Yeah. A couple of things you brought up that stood out to me, and I can't relate to what you went through, but we volunteered with a charity called Homes for Hope, and we've built multiple houses in Mexico, and I can just tell you from seeing the neighborhoods is exactly what you described. I mean, these are shacks like the size of a shed. Yes. And you got a family of 5 living in a shed, and there's no water. Kids run around barefoot, nothing.
That's what it is.
And, we built, probably no bigger than this office would be a house, and it's like a mansion.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. And we built it in 2 days.
What's the square footage of this room?
This is like 300 square feet.
This was about the size of my house in Mexico, like literally, in the dirt. What I mean?
And I just saw all these houses and, how grateful these families are to just live in essentially a big shed. Mm-hmm. And so it's crazy, man. The other thing that stood out to me is your story is very similar to my dad's story. My grandma, she actually just passed away a couple weeks ago from COVID, but she
sorry to hear that, bro.
Yeah, man. So she came from the Philippines, very much like your mom, strong woman. I actually did not know this until talking to people at the funeral, but she came to Las Vegas by herself, just like your mom.
Wow.
And she had I think 6 kids, and she left them all in the Philippines. Yeah. Came here to get settled, and her kids did not come until like 6-7 years later. Yep. And, my dad would tell me stories. And so my parents are together, still married. I had a great childhood growing up, can never complain. But my dad would always tell me the story of how he literally grew up with no parents. His mom was in Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
He's in the Philippines. And then his dad was just always working.
Mm-hmm.
And his dad had 12 kids. So, working.
Different women.
Yep, different women. And so he ended up coming to America when he was like 16, 17.
Mm-hmm.
By then his mom had been living here for a bunch of years. But, like your family, it would be a couple of kids at a time. A couple of kids at a time.
Yep.
And it's crazy because now all those kids are here in Vegas.
It's beautiful.
From the Philippines.
That's beautiful.
And I don't know how they did it. Some probably legal, some probably illegal. But it's cool to hear your story and where you've come, and to have been told a similar story by my dad and his mom. And it just makes me, and I know you've got a couple of daughters. It makes me want to be just a much better parent.
Absolutely.
Overall.
Because of what? Because of all the sacrifices that it took for your lineage to actually shift into what is happening now. You know what I mean?
Right.
See, you have to reverse engineer all the way from the top where, legacy, like who started this legacy? Who's part of your legacy? Well, apparently you just said it was your grandmother, right?
Right.
If your grandmother didn't make that decision, that bold decision where probably everybody in the Philippines thought she was crazy, right, for leaving the village, or like, what are you doing? You're going to go across, 3,000, 5,000, 10,000 miles? I don't know. I've never been to the Philippines. Right. And she was like, who in the right mind, especially like no disrespect, but a single a woman, right?
Right.
Who is thinking about that? And yet she did it. And I don't know if you guys, I don't know to what degree you guys honored her, but I hope that she went away from this world knowing what she caused, like what she initiated from your father to you, to your children and their children. It started right there with your grandmother.
Yep. One bold choice, like you said, man.
Yeah.
So, obviously, our families make these tough decisions. It allows us to have opportunity here. What ended up happening for you after, you finally got back in?
Man, for me, I don't think people understand how difficult it is to become legal in this country, right? It took me, I started my paperwork process in 1997 when I was when I was in the 7th grade.
You just became legal, like I remember.
2012, I became.
Yeah.
2012, I became a citizen. 2012, which seems like not too far ago, right? And then I started my entrepreneur journey in 2014, and then I finally hit something with real estate. Actually, I started my entrepreneur journey in 2013, and I was doing everything: flipping cars, flipping clothes, like everything you can think of. Spencer, the guy who was one of my best friends and ex-roommate, he's actually here in the studio, right? He'll tell you, like, we were roommates, and I was always trying to do something.
Just hustling.
I just, I think it was that adversity factor or that immigrant mindset. But I became a U.S. citizen in 2012, and man, oh man, did I really start trying to move forward and take advantage of the opportunity, Yeah. And that's what a lot of people don't understand, that in my opinion, because I haven't been to China or some of the other, amazing countries out there that are having a great success with their economies, there's no country like America, man. There's no country like the United States of America. In Mexico, you're either extremely rich or extremely poor. There's no middle class there.
Right.
There's a middle class here.
Yeah.
There's no middle class in Mexico.
Right.
So
it's funny, man, because, you hear so many people, get so worked up about the president, this or that. And I'm just like, dude, I don't care who's the president.
Who cares?
Like,
you have no control.
No control. And I'm in the USA.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Like your grandmother was in the Philippines,
yeah,
right?
I'd rather be in the USA under a president I don't like versus another country in poverty where, I could get robbed tomorrow and nobody would care.
That is the truth. That is the truth, brother. And I tell you what, yes, in some of these countries like Mexico, I don't know why it's not considered a third world country, but it should be.
It is.
It should be.
Yeah.
Everything you described. Yeah, my house was plywood, like this was plywood, right? And yes, you had some 4x4s of wood holding that plywood, and you had laminate roofing.
Yep.
Like that's the world that I lived in for most of my childhood. You know what I mean? So I'm grateful to be here.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what's going on, as much as people want to make the U.S. out to be this broken country. It's like, well, you need to go see some other countries then, because you haven't been around.
I say that all the time. I say that all the time.
You think the U.S. is broken? You need to go travel the world.
Yeah, just go across the border. Go to Mexico for a few weeks and tell me how it goes.
Yeah, for sure.
And don't go to some resort town, right?
Go to Cabo.
Yeah, don't go to Cabo. No, go to a town in Mexico and see how you feel. You're going to be dying to get back here.
Yeah, 100%. So you start doing some side hustles. You're figuring things out, and then you somehow stumble on wholesaling real estate.
Yep.
Like, what happened with that?
So I read a book. It was called Flip by Nick Ruiz. At this point, I'm pretty damn broke. I mean, I know you started broke, and I started broke, and you made the better decisions, financial decisions. You leverage credit and things like that. I didn't even know how to do none of that. Right. Unfortunately, the one thing that my mother didn't teach me was financial literacy. That's just, she couldn't teach me that, but she taught me enough to, get me where I am now. But I didn't have any money. I was saving about, $200 a paycheck. And I run into this book. It was called Flip by Nick Ruiz. And I bought it for $10. And it's a pretty outdated book now. It's from like 08, 09, around there. But the year's 2014, and I'm reading this book, and then like something just clicks. I'm like, holy smokes, right? I'm like, you can really do this business with no money, no credit, no license? I'm like, this has to be, you know what? I'm just going to try. You see, right?
Yeah.
There's the first thing you're like, too good
You're
to
always
be
a
true.
skeptic, right?
Too good to be true. You know what? I'm just going to give it a shot. And the book would tell me, like, go put out 100 bandit signs on Friday. I'm like, okay, I'm going to put out 100 bandit signs on Friday, right?
Right.
Handwritten bandit signs, because I couldn't afford pre-printed bandit signs. So my wife would write out about 100 to 200 bandit signs on Wednesday. I was out on Friday, 11 p.m. to Saturday, 2 in the morning, putting out these bandit signs while everybody's out. They're out at the club. They're out doing whatever the heck they're doing.
By the way, I've seen your picture you've posted before of you like in a tank top with like a hat, like in your bandit signs in the back of your car.
Yep. Yeah. That was a 2000. The year was 20. That year is 2014, 2015, and that's a 2006 Nissan Rogue. It was my wife's. It's all we could afford.
Right.
It's all we could afford. So I would use her Rogue, and you know what's crazy? This should let people know out there about the lack of commitment, right? The lack of commitment, the lack of ambition. It started with me just doing it by myself, and I'm like, how can I get more efficient? As business owners, right? Like, we're like, how can I create efficiency? How can I automate this, whatever? Well, at one point, I'm like, okay, well, if I pay somebody to drive for me, all I got to do is jump out the passenger door and go to one corner of the intersection and jump back into the, he can actually just follow me around and I jump back in. Brother, nobody would take my $50. Like, I would like, hey, bro, I'll pay you $50.
Just drive
me around for 5 hours.
Right.
Nah, man, I'm going to go to the club. Like, what?
Yeah.
And then all those people that would not take my $50, 2016, 2017, they're like, dude, yo, can I get a job? Like, same guys.
You're like, you ain't got work ethic. I ain't hiring you.
Bro, one guy, he's like, hey, bro, you guys are doing pretty good. Can I come in and you give me 20% of the company and I'll get deals for you? I'm like, what? No. Oh, my God. We went through like the first 3 years of that, like people wanting to come in. They saw me and Sal, like getting a lot of traction going, and people were like, hey, man, I want to join you, but I want 10% of the company. I want 20%. I was like, what's going on here?
Quick question about that. So, I've built multiple companies like you have. You've got like how many companies now? 20-something?
Well, my CFO says 31. Again, that are making money, 27.
Okay. So for me, I don't have nearly as many companies, but I never faced that problem because I grew up middle class. I never had like people.
Good for you. Like I wish I would have grew up middle class.
Well, I'm saying like when I started having success, I didn't have people like trying to jump in on my company and like, get equity and stuff. But I hear that all the time with the, athletes and the rappers and like their family just always jumping in on it. Like, is that kind of what you experienced just because that's how you grew up?
Well, you go through these like, man, these different phases, right? Like first your friends and family, they laugh at you, right? They laugh at you. I don't know if you've read a post that I put when I was on the Andy Frisella podcast. I posted a picture of me and Andy, and in that caption, I said, my family thinks I'm a drug dealer. For like literally, they're like, how can this poor kid, because we were the poorest. We were like in Mexico, we were the black sheep. We were the poorest of the family. My other, my mom's sisters and brothers, they had a decent size, they had a decent house, like brick, right? And we were like living in the hills where there's no running water. There's not even electric. Brother, there's no, like, my mom was telling me that like 8 years ago, they finally put up like light posts, right? So
Jeez.
They were like, how can this kid being the poorest kid in the family, them being the poorest, how is he like doing what he's doing? Like, living where he's living, driving what he's driving, providing for blah, blah. He must be selling drugs. Brother, I tell you this, 1 year ago, my family, this isn't like something far-fetched. 1 year ago, my mother brought some of the family to come visit my office, my operation, the building that I bought in 2019. She brought some of the family over, and she didn't tell me why. After they left, she was like, hey, they thought you were a drug dealer. Literally, like, I had to prove to them that you're a legit businessman.
Right.
I didn't even know that. So again, I got all of that initially from, friends and family, like, yeah, right. Yeah, right. Oh, he's having a little success. He must be up to no good. You see, right? It's the cynicism, right? Right. And it's like, at some point, your friends finally just accept the fact that you worked your ass off, that you did everything that they weren't willing to do. At some point, they just say, you know what? I give in. He's the real deal. Yeah. He really, like, all of them. I don't have any more like haters or doubters. I think I don't, I stay away from that kind of energy anyway. But I'm telling you, man, at first it went from like, yeah, right, ha ha, you're a drug dealer. Oh my God, who do you think you are, right? Yeah. And then they're like, okay, all right, he's really doing it.
Yeah, can I have half your company now?
20%, 10%, even though I didn't do anything. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Jeez. So, yeah, man, I mean, just hearing your story and just everything that it took to get there, super inspiring. And I know that a lot of people listen to this podcast may be in a similar spot where they ain't got no money, no one believes in them, their family is, not able to help them. It's really on them to make it happen. And, one of our, core value statements on this podcast is inspire. Mm-hmm. And so that's how I feel listening to that story, man. Like, man, if there's any other kid out there who's got something
absolutely
that they're feeling, man, I think that story's going to inspire them. But to transition a little bit, I mean, you've got success now. You've got all these companies. You're making all this money. And, you kind of went through a crisis dealing with, like, the success of it. Like, what's that? Like, how do I deal with success now? Yeah. And that's what led you down this personal development path where, like we said at the beginning of the episode, you're spending, your goal is to spend $250,000
2021 this year
on personal development. So,
and I'm about halfway there.
Already halfway there. Yep. So I'm going to ask you about some of those things, but first, let's hear a quick word from our sponsor. Have you ever wanted to invest in real estate, but you didn't have the time to find deals yourself? That's where Fundrise comes in. Fundrise is a crowdfunding platform that has transacted over $5 billion in real estate and has over 150,000 active investors. While many funds, like my own, require accredited investors, Fundrise allows anyone to invest with as little as $500. If you'd like to learn more, check out fundrise.com. Once again, that's fundrise.com. How often have you driven around and seen houses that were in rough shape? If you're a real estate investor, you know those are the best deals. With Batch Driven, you're now able to capitalize on those homes. You can mark the home, get owner information, and send them a mailer or a text right from the app. And there are other great features like lead management, MLS data, and real-time driving routes. If you want to start today, you can get half off your first month by going to batchdriven.com/Ryan. Once again, that's batchdriven.com/Ryan for half off your first month. Now, back to the show. All right, so your goal is to spend $250K, and you've already spent half of that. We're not even halfway through the year.
I'm about 120 in.
Yeah,
120.
So, I mean, I think I spend a lot of money on myself to develop, but it's not at that level yet. So, like, what am I missing out on? What are you spending it on?
I'll tell you the way this all started. In 2017, man, like, my business partner and I, we did in 2 years what probably takes somebody 10 years to do. That people don't understand that, right? Like we did. I mean, you know, how many people do you know in the real estate space that we're already, you know, and no comparison, not competing with anybody, but how many people have you met that have been doing this business for 10, 15, 20 years, right? And they don't have the level of success that we have. They don't have the team that we have. They don't have the infrastructure that we have. They don't spend the money that we do. You know what I mean?
Right. Because
Sal and I put everything on the line. When we say like, when I say we went all in, we were like, we're willing to die for this. Like that's what it was. And he's an Iraqi immigrant that was persecuted, shot at, you know, for being a Catholic in Iraq. So he already had that adversity and trauma coming in. Then you got this Mexican kid that all he knew was like pain, suffering, abandonment, trauma. Then you put these two guys together. I mean, it's like, it's, you know, I mean, it's like, what do you call it? Like putting fuel into a fire, right?
Right.
You put these two guys together and then they complement each other so well, right? One of them's an integrator. He's a software guy. Then you got this guy who's a bulldozer. He's a visionary. He leads from the front. You put these guys together and we start creating some magic. For 2 years, we neglected our children, our wives, our family. I mean, if it wasn't about growing our businesses, we didn't want nothing to do with it. Nothing. We neglected our health. So in 2017, I remember vividly, Labor Day weekend of 2017, I got my first anxiety attack. I didn't even know what anxiety was. Think about it, right? Think about a kid who grows up in all this poverty and suffering. And I'm just used to this at this point. Like, this is my second nature, like, you know, to be anxious, to be in survival, to, you know, to see how we're going to live today. Like, we, you know, not guarantee the next meal, not guarantee the next day. I was okay with that already. But once we got some success in 2017, it really starts to come back full force. Like now you're not in survival mode. Now you have a little bit of time to relax a little bit and idle hands. And then you start thinking about all that junk and baggage starts coming up. And I got anxiety, man. I got anxiety. I had an anxiety attack. I've had 2 anxiety attacks in my life. They both happened the same week during Labor Day weekend, 2017. So I'm like, this isn't right. Something's happening. I don't feel good. What is this? I thought I was sick. And I went to every doctor, every specialist. I did every MRI, every brain scan, every piece of blood work you can do. And all the doctors at the end said, hey, man, you just have GAD, general anxiety disorder. I'm like, what is anxiety? Like, you have anxiety. And I'm like, I don't know what that is. What is it? Can you describe it to me? Well, you know, you got the weight of the world on your shoulders and blah, blah. And they didn't even tell me, like, okay, this is what you need to do, right? So they're like, take these. What are these? Klonopin and Paxil. Take this at night. Take this one at night. Take this one in the morning, right? So they gave me Klonopin, 20 milligrams, half a pill at night, half a pill in the morning. They gave me Paxil, 20 milligrams. Klonopin was 0.05 milligrams. I apologize. Paxil was 20 milligrams. So I'm on these pills. And you know what those pills do to you? They shut down your ability to feel, like your emotional state. So don't get me wrong. This was like our superpower for me and Sal. Sal's on Klonopin, I'm on Klonopin. Right? We feel nothing, we know nothing. We're like, yeah, baby, like stress is not even a factor. See, a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people don't know that me and Sal were on the super pills. See, where you're over there working out and trying to, you know, reduce your stress levels. We're like, I mean, that's exactly what we did for a few years. But at some point I'm like, man, like I'm not really living life. I'm not really living life. Like I got a baby girl here. I got my beautiful wife. Why am I not feeling grateful? Why am I not present? Why am I not feeling? You see?
Right.
Right? So I said, I got to get off these pills. Like my soul was telling me, you need to get off these pills. So in March of 2019, I went to see a doctor called Dr. George Pratt in La Jolla. Dr. George Pratt has treated the likes of Tony Robbins, Andre Agassi, Phil Mickelson, Rob Dyrdek, like all these big names, right? And I started doing some work with Dr. Pratt in La Jolla, and I started to see some progress, right? I started to see some progress. Okay, all right, this is helping me. This is helping me. Then I start to hire I got a spiritual mentor mid 2019, I got a spirit. You met him, Christian Ferris. Hired him as a spiritual mentor. I did about 6 months with him. I hired several. One of my amazing coaches to this day right now. Her name is Tanya Oliver, and now she's coaching Terry Thayer, Chrissy Thayer, Art Sanchez, his wife. Like, she's coaching all kinds of people now because they started to see what I was transforming or transitioning into. Brother, I can tell you this in your eyes right now, because like personal development saved my life, saved my marriage, saved my everything. Personal development, me going in internally and peeling back the layers of the onion and slowly but surely getting rid of a lot of that baggage that was holding me down, right? It's been able, over the past 12 months, bro, like it's catapulted me to a level that I didn't imagine, right? And I can sit here and look at you in the eyes, which I told one of your crew members here that I was going to look at you in the eyes, right? And I got rid of, I'm no longer on Paxil. I'm no longer on Klonopin. I'm just no longer on anything that doesn't serve me anymore.
That's amazing,
So
bro.
that's why personal development, it saved my life, man. So that's why I believe in it. I spent $144,000 last year. And when I say personal development, I'm not just saying like, oh, it's just I'm paying coaches. No, don't get me wrong. You know, I pay coaches. I got several coaches that don't not only treat me, but they actually give my wife 2 sessions a week. I pay full. By the way, this is what a lot of people don't understand, and I hope people out there like really understand this and respect this if they're trying to become massively successful past themselves into the next generation. My 8-year-old has a personal development coach. She does 2 sessions a week with Tanya. My wife has a personal development coach with Tanya. She does 2 sessions a week. So now, not only am I making sure that I elevate, I'm making sure that my family, especially my next generation, which is my oldest baby girl, she's come a long way. Her emotional intelligence right now is ridiculous. And she's the only 3rd grader at school that is making about $100 to $120 a week selling toys. I didn't even tell her to sell toys. I'm like, you know, she's like, baby, why do you sell toys? Well, you know, because I like business. Well, why do you like business? Because I see you do it. You see, it's all demonstration, right, for our children.
Right.
So that's why I strongly believe, man, in like developing spiritually, mentally, physically, everything. And that's why I'm going to spend the $250,000 this year, and we'll see what next year has in store for me.
I love that, bro.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that I preach is, I've talked about it on a lot of different podcasts, is my acronym RAISE. You know, it stands for relationships, assets, intellect, spirit, and exercise. It's like, if I'm hitting all 5 of those things on a daily basis,
I love it.
I'm going to be good, you know? And so I've got my planner, I've got everything. And by the way, guys, I give the planner that I've created completely away for free. You can download it at ryanpineda.com. But like I could show you my planner every day this year of whether or not I did what I was going to do relationship-wise that week, that day, that quarter. Asset-wise, you know, what am I doing to hit my financial goals? Intellect-wise, what am I doing to grow, you know, my personal development, essentially, you know, with books and podcasts and education, masterminds, all that stuff. Yeah. Spirit, right? How much time am I spending with God? Exercise, you know, my body, my health. And the thing that I have seen from entrepreneurs, we've been in this game a while now, and we've seen a lot of entrepreneurs who are very successful in one aspect of their life, money, right? Yeah. And to the world, that's what success looks like. It's like, oh man, his business.
I love where
good.
you're headed. I love where you're headed.
And I see it, and I'm like, I can tell you that guy's not winning. You know, he may be having business success, but I can tell you, when he gets home, it's not good.
If there is a home.
If he has someone to come home to.
Yep.
You know, and I see a lot of business people try and put Band-Aids on it instead of just fixing the foundation, you know? And so like when I hear about the anxiety thing, I did a whole podcast about how I deal with anxiety, right? And I talked about that. I go, hey, you know, doctors will prescribe you pills. They'll tell you to do X, Y, Z. And I'm like, dude, to me, anxiety comes from not being balanced. Like, you know,
absolutely.
It comes from, hey, are you spending time? You're not spending time with God. You're not spending time with your family. You're only doing one thing. Your health is, you're not working out. You're not eating right. Like, dude, of course you're going to have anxiety.
Yeah.
You're like, pills ain't going to fix it. You're going to.
It's a Band-Aid.
It's a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
But you got to fix the foundation to truly like have long term. Like how long are you gonna take pills for before they destroy whatever they're gonna destroy?
Liver, pancreas, I mean, you name it. You know, it can be good. It's synthetic chemicals. You know, it's like it's synthetic. It's not good for you, man. It's not a good long-term plan, you know? And for anybody out there that's on pills, I just want to say this, like, you're not alone. This is unfortunately, it's a big part of the process. If you're not balanced, like Ryan said, and you're not taking care of the foundation, right? Body, mind, spirit, then you're going to run into some pretty dark times, you know, like I did. And then the other thing that I want to say is, like, I'm with you, brother. Like, when I really think of success, because when I was growing up, I thought of success just like what you just said. Oh man, look at that dude's car. Man, look at his house. Look at the way he dresses.
My version of success was watching athletes. It's like, oh man, that guy's an all-star.
He's performing.
He's the MVP. Yeah. Like, that guy's successful. And that was it. It was like, how well did you perform at your sport?
Exactly. So I've noticed, right, that there's different pillars, right? You got different pillars of success. It's like, how's your family? You know, how's your home life? You know, I see this guy in front. I see this guy, you know, let's just say you got a successful entrepreneur out there doing IG ads, and he's all over Instagram. He's an influencer and blah, blah, blah. Then you roll back the curtain, you know, what's behind the curtain? Oh man, you know, baby mamas, and not judging anybody, because things happen. I get it.
Right.
But then you got like baby mamas, broken marriages, broken homes, drug addictions, alcoholism, you know, right? The behavior behind the curtain, right?
Right.
And we all know that behavior is always just a symptom to whatever the root cause of that behavior is. So you're right. I had to learn that the hard way. And you know what? I want to transition into what I call something I made up, something that I came up with through my life experience, not only in my experience in life, but my experience in business, which is called the Four Esses, right? The Four Esses. You and I were discussing a little bit about that.
Yeah.
You know, the first S, which is a lot of people out there maybe right now, right? The first S is survival, right? We were in survival for how long? Like, every entrepreneur, by the way, goes through these phases, the Four S's. The first one is survival, just trying to make it, just trying to, you know, roll the dice on something that might play out, you know, survival. Then it's like, okay, all right, we're past the survival stage. We reach some success. We're getting some traction in our business, right? We're becoming somewhat successful. We're starting to make some money, right? Okay, we achieve success. That's the second S. Then the third phase comes, which is status. And I was stuck there, by the way. You knew me when I was in survival. You knew me when I reached some success, and you knew me when I was stuck in the status phase. Mm-hmm. And now you know me in the fourth phase, which I'll get to next. But what is the status phase? Let me ask you, what do you think that status phase is when, like, entrepreneurs, they're going through this journey, and it's like, okay, survival. They reach some success. Boom, they're in the status phase, and 90% of entrepreneurs never make it out of this stage in their lives.
Right.
What do you think that status is? What have you seen? And I'll explain my part.
Yeah, you know, for the status stage, I would say it's you start getting some recognition from your peers on social media. People start asking you to speak, come on their podcast, you know, anything to do with, like, man, you're the man. Like,
what gets inflated?
Ego.
I saw one of your core values out there. It's funny, right? It's like, this is how you know the universe is talking to you. It's like, I walk in, one of your core values is ego.
No ego.
No ego, no ego, not having ego, no ego, right?
Our core value is you got to have ego to be here.
Yeah, you got to make bank, bro. No, remember? I want to ride a Range Rover. No, then my man, one of my guys from my staff, Lyle, right? What did he just get tatted down there, right?
No
like
ego.
He's going to cross it out.
Yeah.
That's a big thing. I think a lot of people, man, like, money only amplifies what? The person you already are, right?
Right.
So if you were a POS, if you were egotistical, if you were prideful, if you were lustful, when you get to that status phase,
it makes it way worse.
It is destruction. It is literally a train to hell. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, because now you have money.
Yeah.
And now you have recognition, and now you're the man, brother. You know how many times I've seen that happen to not only entrepreneurs, but more importantly, athletes.
Oh man, all the time.
I've seen it, man. They get a little taste of money. They get a little taste of recognition.
Yep.
And now they're at the clubs, and now they're drinking, and now they're doing drugs, and now they're sleeping with random women, and now their careers are over.
Well, bro, even, you know, I played minor league baseball for 8 years, and I can tell you, you know, you have status by getting drafted, and a lot of these guys sign for
By wearing a
millions of
uniform.
dollars. Yeah.
By wearing a uniform.
Yeah, people, fans are coming to watch you every night, girls, everything, right? And we're not even big leaguers, right? And there's still this status thing, you know, and then you get to be a big leaguer, and just like I've seen the lifestyle already of, you know, you're in a different city every night. Your girlfriend or your wife doesn't know what you're up to. Like I watched it all the time with guys, and it is true. Like it's just how it is in those kind of status filled things. And I tell, you know, whenever I explain our core values, because we run workshops and different things here, and so I'll be like, guys, when you start a company, whether it's just you by yourself, if you just started the company, you need to come up with your 4 core values, you know, just the 4 most important things that are to you. You could have more, but start with 4. And it's like, for me, and so I start explaining our core values, and the last one is ego or no ego. And I go, that one's for me specifically, because I know the temptation to have ego is so much higher for me than it is for, you know, anyone else. And it's like, the more adoration, the more praise, the more people tell you you're awesome, like the easier it is to fall into that temptation.
You know, it's funny you bring that up. I didn't even think about this, but I do believe now wholeheartedly that now that you've gained a good amount of success, I feel like that's one thing that you have gotten rid of is ego and pride. And I believe that came from being an athlete, right? You got to have a crazy ego, right?
Right.
I don't know if you read this book. I actually have it on my desk now. It's called The Ego Effect. A guy named Chris something writes it. This guy's insane. He talks about how athletes have this different ego that just gets activated when they go into the ring or the court or the diamond.
You just
right?
turn it on.
You just turn this, like, you know, Mike Tyson, you know, and, you know, Iron Mike,
By the way,
Ferocious Mike.
it's by Todd Herman for anyone
Todd
listening.
Herman. Yeah, it's a yellow book. I literally that's my next book that I got to read.
Yep.
I heard great things about it. The Ego Effect, right? So Kobe Bryant, what was his alter ego?
He's the Black Mamba.
He's the Black Mamba. Michael
Right.
Jordan, what was his alter ego?
I don't know
Air
what he called
Jordan
himself.
and you know, whatever, right? So anyway, ego. In that phase that we were just discussing, right? When you reach the status phase, your ego gets inflated, your pride gets inflated, and then you start heading down a really, really bad road. If you were a lustful person before, now you can have any girl in the world.
Right.
Right? What's that going to do to you? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So if you make it, if you are part of that 10% that gets out of that phase, then you reach what's called significance. And I believe, you know, praise the Lord that I'm there now, where I become a person of significance and I actually start serving other people, start inspiring other people, start leading by example, start really adding value to other people's lives and trying to really impact and change their lives. You know what I mean? That's the significance. But for you to reach the top of that mountain, and that's the top of the mountain for me, is like you're in significance mode. You really got to get rid of a lot of the baggage that you had to get there, right? And there's an old saying, what got you here won't get you there.
Right.
I had to get rid of a lot of that. As you probably, like you said, one of your core values is no ego, because maybe as an athlete, you had some ego. You had to have some ego.
Well, you know, there's a lot of athletes, and I see this in entrepreneurs too, right? Like they got a chip on their shoulder, right? They've been slighted constantly. And for me, I was always the smallest guy on my team. You know, man, you hanging out with these pro athletes. I mean, 5'10", 175 is not big. And, you know, for me to succeed and hang with those guys, I had to be mentally stronger than them because physically it wasn't going to be there.
Yeah.
And, you know, to be able to build up that mental strength and confidence, you got to tell yourself like, yo, I don't care how big, how fast, how strong these guys are. I'm better than this dude.
I got it. I'm better.
Like this dude cannot touch me. And so you have to like develop that kind of confidence and cockiness. And every athlete has that type of swag.
You had to, I know that you don't like me cursing, so I will not curse. And the only curse word I ever use is the F word, because the F word is just an expression. That's what people don't understand. You hit your toe in the corner of this. What are you going to scream? You're going to scream F, the F word, right? You know, and again, it's just how you use it. But you have to mind screw yourself. You see, you got to, as an entrepreneur, as an athlete, you have to mind screw yourself into believing things that your normal human being would not even fathom. They wouldn't even visualize something like this.
100%. And, you know, you do have to learn to trick your mind and make it stronger. And, you know, I did that to be an athlete. And like I said, you brought up a good point of, whatever got you there does not mean it's going to be what gets you to the next level.
Absolutely
and so
not.
like run around with a chip on your shoulder and all this is great, but man, if you're like always getting butt hurt because somebody slights you, you're like, oh man, they still don't believe, like after all, like you're still always trying to prove people wrong.
Yeah.
Like, dude, at some point you got to get over
Brother,
it.
but people don't grow out of that.
No, I know. And that's what I'm saying. Like you have to learn. For me at this point, like you said, I'm like, dude, if somebody wants to talk crap, I don't really care. Like, whatever.
Yeah. It's not going to interfere with, your energy.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to allow it to penetrate. Like some external factor is not going to make you go home and like treat your wife different, because you're pissed off over what somebody said. You know what I mean?
Somebody says, oh man, I'm going to show them, I'm going to make whatever. I'm starting, like I'm not going to let anyone influence my actions.
Well, that's the thing, right? We're in a world where like, people are too busy trying to compete. I don't know if you and I have ever spoke about this, but I was hanging around with some guys that are in the 9-figure mark, right? They're, 100, 300, 500, 700 mil, right?
Right.
And I'm just kind of sitting there and observing the way they operate. They're not worried about who your audience is and my audience is. They're not worried about what you got going on. And they're like, hey, how can we create, like, I like your energy. How can we create synergy where everybody wins? You know what I mean? It becomes like a bilateral, like, hey, I'm serving you, you're serving me. And that's not like even an agreement. It's just like serve who serves you and, serve what serves you, right? I've seen that happen. And a lot of people in the space that we're in, whether it's business, influence, guess what? They're like, oh man, he's my competition. Ryan's my competition. Absolutely not. Your avatar is different than my avatar as far as, whatever. Like I was an illegal immigrant from Mexico. At the event, what did you see?
A lot of Mexicans.
But what a minute though, my buddy Spencer actually pointed this out. They were like mini versions of me.
Yeah, 100%.
They're like these Mexican dudes with like jackets, and they're like, like I'm gonna retire my mother. Like I'm like, okay, cool.
They're about it
because they relate to me. 100%. They're my avatar. I'm their avatar. Right.
Yep.
So that's what people need to understand, man. It's like it's better to collaborate than compete. Like stop thinking so small. And that when people think that way, it's just pride and ego. And if you think that way, you will never reach your highest potential.
Yeah, I totally agree, dude. If you have, say, a business or a community of people, like you said, that follow you, you've got All In Nation, right? And like you said, they are a very specific avatar, man. Like you said, a bunch of them are mini yous, and those are the type of people you attract. And even for me, the people that subscribe or follow me, I've noticed a lot of them have these very same characteristics of me. They may not look like me and be half Filipino and half but as far as, they maybe grew up middle class like I did and they're trying to figure it out. Or maybe I get a lot of Christians who join my stuff and
love it.
Is just because they're like, dude, I love that you're willing to talk about it and other guys aren't, and the way you carry yourself. And that's just who I attract. And it's not that I'm like trying to attract that person. It's just
the message.
Yeah, it is who I am. And if you want to work with me and ride with me, that's good.
Yeah. It's funny you say that because my wife keeps telling me now, she's like, hey, you need to really double down on the Latino culture.
Right.
Like, because Latinos are not just Mexicans.
Right.
Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, right? All of them, right? Like, you need to double down on the Latino culture. And I'm like, well, why do you say that, babe? And she's like, well, because in the space that you're playing in, you got the Tony Robbinses and the Andy Frisellas and the Ed Milet's. You got all these guys.
Got all these white guys.
Right?
Right.
I don't need to compete with them.
No.
I don't need them. Like, they, and I'm going to say this with no ego and pride, just being logical and realistic here. None of them speak Spanish. You see what I'm saying? Like, they cannot compete in my world, right? Like, my world is my world. And that's what, getting back to what we were going to say is like, when it comes to competition, it's like, hey, man, what was yours is yours. What belongs to you will make its way there. Right? Same thing with this side. I'm like, I don't want to compete with the Tony Robbins, and I don't want to compete with Ed Milet and Andy Frisella. Like, they got their own thing. They're doing amazing, right? But it's like, I got my own world that I have to address. You got your own world that you have to address, right? We have our own lanes, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think people need to start thinking in that aspect as soon as they can.
100%. And it's funny, man, speaking of consultants and coaches. So I actually just got off a call with my YouTube consultant. You know, I hired a consultant for YouTube. You know, guys knows his stuff, right? And we actually had this talk today about, he goes, what is a Ryan Pineda YouTube video? He's like, because when I watch them, there's a bunch of things. I mean, you're talking about real estate, you're talking about crypto, you're talking about taxes, you're talking about a wide range of stuff. So if somebody goes and watches you, they really don't know what they're going to see. And so I said, you're right. And he's like, if you look at other YouTubers and influencers, they have a very core message and
signature talk.
Yeah, a signature talk. It's like, okay, you want to go get fired up, go to Tony Robbins and go to one of his events. You're going to like jump around. You're going to go, like, same thing with Ed Milet and Andy and these guys. Like, they have this thing. And he's like, so even though you are dynamic and you have these things you're good at, you are going to have to key in on something to be known for. And whether you want to be known for real estate or not, that is what you're better than 99% of people. He's like, so you can really key in on that, but it would have to all relate back to that some type of way. And I really took it to heart because, you know, I'm thinking about it just in the perspective of your avatar, like you said, right? And your avatar, like, you do want to play in a field where these guys don't compete. You know, it's like, if the Latinos are your avatar, man, just double down. I agree with your wife. Tony Robbins, like, he's just like, look, if you want to, you know, personal development, you're coming to me. I'm the best. Everyone knows it. And so for me, I am still trying to figure out, okay, what am I going to really key in on? Because I do have a lot of passions, but what, you know.
But that's the thing. See, what I like about what you're doing, which is something that I'm actually going to start doing with my channel. I don't know why I never went in on YouTube, right? I don't know if I was too lazy. I don't know if I didn't have the right infrastructure or the right strategy. I doubled down on Instagram, and it's made us like millions of dollars from, you know, again, you came to our event in 2018, probably because you saw us on Instagram. You know what I mean? Right? You doubled down on YouTube in 2020. And then I just hired, and you, by the way, I don't know if it was you. I know it was for you for sure. You inspired me to really put in YouTube work, right? And what I love about your YouTube content is that you have a little bit for everyone. You know, it's like any and all trending topics, right? I don't know if that's something, again, for me, it's like you are all these avatars, right? You're all, I'm all these avatars, but it's like combining them all into one, which I think like you're doing, even though you may not recognize or be aware.
Well, and look, it's been successful and it's got me to the point I'm at right now, right? But like we talked about, what got you to this point may not get you to the next level.
For sure.
And so that was the conversation we had was, hey, you know, you can continue on this path and it's going to be great, but is there a better path? Well,
I'll tell you this. The beautiful thing is that you and I both know, you know, because we're businessmen, beta testing, right?
Exactly.
You go 3 months into changing up the message or whatever you're going to do, right? And target a specific avatar audience. You change up the message and you see what happens in 3 months, maybe 6 months at the most. Right. And then you're going to say like, man, it's either going to blow up or it's going to decline.
Exactly.
Right? So that's the beautiful part about business, man, and right now you are in a position to be able to do some research and development and beta test. So it's going to work out well for you regardless. You know, so
no, I'm excited about it. It was a great call. And once again, it just goes back to the whole theme of this episode of, hey, you need outside consultants giving you new perspectives, because it's very hard to see internally what's going on with you, or I guess externally, the perception of you, because you're always thinking internally. And then when you get somebody else who's unbiased, who can really tell you the truth, it really opens your eyes like, okay, like I never even thought about it this way. I've been kind of stuck in doing it this way for a while, but this way could be better. And so I love getting coaches just like you, man. I love going to events, and man, I think everyone needs to get into that.
Let me ask you this. Your core values for the show: invest, innovate, inspire, right?
Right.
Let's talk about invest, right? And I know that you have multiple investments, different ventures, right? What do you think the number one, like once you can afford it, once you have the capacity, what is the number one thing that you should be investing in?
I think real estate. Oh, beside yourself?
I was going to say.
Yeah. Beside yourself.
Yourself. What did you tell me? What did you tell me before we got the show rolling about LeBron James and Tom Brady?
LeBron spends $1 million a year on himself.
Is he getting his return?
Oh, he's getting an ROI, all right.
Tom Brady. Tom Brady, the guy's 50? I don't know what
he won a Super Bowl again.
He just won a Super Bowl at the age of 40
LeBron just won too.
You see, these guys, they know the game. They know, like, they're investing into every, when it comes to them, every aspect, nutrition, health, mindset, like spirituality, like they're investing. They got their board of advisors.
Yeah.
They got their squad. Like I got my own, specialists in their own field. You know what I mean?
Right.
And again, I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs out there, they're not willing to do that for multiple reasons. One of them is they don't want to spend the money on themselves for some crazy reason.
They don't believe they're going to get an ROI.
Which is stupid, right?
Or they believe they know it all.
Which is egotistical, prideful, and arrogance. But you and I both know that we are the best. Once you can afford it, we are the best investments that we can potentially make, right? Because guess what? Success will never exceed the individual.
Yeah.
You see? It's not like, oh, success is here and the individual is here. It's like, no, it actually works the other way. It's like you got to raise your game up as a person, and then success just kind of follows you. You know what I mean?
100%.
It starts to chase you.
Yeah, and I mean, for me, everything I've ever been able to accomplish in my life is because I was either inspired by someone else or, I learned it from somebody else. Like I read it in a book, I went to a seminar, I heard it on a podcast. I was like, oh my gosh, I never even thought to do that, you know? Or I see somebody doing something really big and really cool. I'm like, man, I want to do that. Like,
what are they doing?
Yeah, that's awesome. And I may never even get the chance to talk to them because, I can't reach them, right? But they've inspired me to do something big. So I think like to sum it up, it's like you have to be willing to just learn from other people and really invest the money and the time into yourself.
Money, time, energy. One thing you mentioned that a lot of people, the other thing is like, okay, people aren't willing to invest into themselves, but there was the D word you mentioned. You said most people lack discipline, right? Most people, and 97% of people out there, society, they lack the discipline. Like if I were to ask you, hey brother, what's your morning? Hey, I'll tell you what, I'll ask you this, and I know we got to wrap up here, but I'll tell you this. I'll ask you this. What time is your time block? Like you have a morning routine. Give me the time block of that morning routine and give me what happens in that time block.
So it's 6 to 10 every day.
6 to 10.
4 hours. I spend the first 4 hours of the day working on myself before I ever worry about work or like trying to do anything else. And so, for me, I wake up at 6 every day. I take a shower, get ready, eat some breakfast, healthy breakfast, right? And then I spend an hour with God. So I'll read my Bible, I'll pray, I'll memorize Bible verses.
Abiding.
Yep. And then I do my planner, like I was telling you guys earlier, my raised planner. So I do all of that in about an hour. Then I go to the gym, spend an hour at the gym, come back, eat again, get freshened up, ready. Then I get to the office at 10 a.m.
There you go. I'll tell you mine. And again, for everybody out there that's listening is if you develop the discipline and you start to put a morning routine in there and then eventually a night routine in there, right? You will catapult, you will slingshot into a level that you could not imagine in like 3 to 6 months. I know for a fact that when I started doing my morning routines, I started to see a lot of intentional, purposeful progress, like as far as work ethic goes. I would get into the office and now instead of like wasting time and blah, blah, I get in there for, 4, 5, 6 hours and just do, right? My morning routine is very similar to yours. I get up at 6. When 6:30 comes around, I'm already doing my breathing exercises with my coach. I'm doing meditation from 6:30 to 7, right? And then from 7 to 7:30, I spend time with the fam. I take my baby girl at 7:30 to school. And by the time I even take her to school, I've already had my green juice that a guy delivers to my house every Sunday, My buddy Spencer gets 2 of those. I get 2 of them. It has everything: celery, green apple, all kinds of stuff, right? Kale. So by that time, I've already had my green juice. I've already had my probiotics. I've already had my green enzymes. I've already had my krill, Alaskan krill pills. I've already done all that. You see what I'm saying? I've already done all of that by the time I even get my workout in at 8:15. See? Then it's 8:15, get the workout in, go back home, start getting ready for today. So this is something that I've been doing for about a year. And again, I don't want to hear any excuses out there. I lacked in my morning routine, what I liked the most was my ability to have the discipline to meditate. So guess what I did? I hired a meditation coach.
Yeah, there you go.
And we've been meditating for 30 straight days. And now I know how to meditate.
He'll keep you accountable.
I didn't know
sure.
I didn't know how to meditate. And I said, you know what? I'm sick of this. I'm hiring a meditation coach.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I again, no excuses.
And I think the thing that's great is we have similar routines but different, right? And so I think it's key to find whatever works for you. You know, like I don't drink green smoothies. I'd rather eat eggs and bacon and get my protein in, you know, but green smoothies work for you.
Yep.
You know, and so it's like you just got to figure out what works for you, because everybody's body is different. We were talking about this, like blood. You're on a blood type diet,
yep.
And you know, I've done multiple diets and talked about. I'm like, dude, you will never know what works for you unless you just try new things.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
I love that, dude. Well, as we wrap up, man, I've had a lot of fun. Where can people find you?
Carlos Reyes on Instagram. Carlos Reyes on Instagram. I'm probably the only Mexican entrepreneur with a blue check mark. Right? I don't know. There might be some other Mexican entrepreneurs out there that have a blue check mark. I don't know. And by the way, I would love to connect with a bunch of, like, you know, not only Latinos, obviously, because I don't play that, right? I don't play the whole like, oh, I got to stick to a specific race or a specific culture. I don't play that. I operate in the culture of success. You know, like I always say this, like success doesn't discriminate. It doesn't know your religion, your skin, you know, the color of your skin. You know, and it just knows hard work, commitment, dedication. So again, if you're a successful person out there, you know, even if you're not, you're looking to be successful, connect with me. I'm pretty good at always responding back to everybody.
Yeah.
So Carlos Reyes on Instagram.
Cool. So we'll link to Carlos' Instagram down below in the description. Well, dude, I really appreciate you flying out to Vegas to film this today, man.
We needed to make this happen.
Yeah, and it's always a pleasure, and I'm excited to see kind of your journey continuing to go forward.
God willing.
In the
Same
stage
with
of
yours,
significance.
Bro. Yeah,
you know?
Same with yours. I think I know you're there, and I know you feel good about everything you got going on, and can't see what I want to see what happens to us in the next 12 months. It's
going to be exciting,
right? It's going to be cool.
Yeah. So guys, if you enjoyed this episode, do me a favor and subscribe so that you get access to all the new episodes when they launch. If you're on Apple Podcast, also please leave a 5-star review. It'd mean a lot to me, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace. Thanks for watching The Ryan Pineda Show. If you want to work with me, head over to ryanpineda.com. You can find my courses, coaching programs, and upcoming events. We also have free resources you can download, so head over to ryanpineda.com.